Hey, podcast family, how's everyone doing today? We are currently in week 5 of quarantine here in Madrid, Spain. Yep, trying to buckle down. And today we have a very special guest. Her name is Amanda Sevilla, based in California. She's a registered clinical dietitian and a yoga teacher. Her work and studies are based around the benefits of a plant based diet. She also contributes as a coach to veganfitness.com that has over 190,000 followers on IG. She is super passionate about self-love, development, and empowerment. What we love about her most is her transparency and advocacy towards whole health, being real on her social media outlets, as well as inspiring others to get some movement through her love of yoga. Please welcome the bold and talented Amanda Sevilla to the show.
Yes, welcome,
Woo!
Amanda.
Ooh, what an intro. I am very flattered.
Laura
Thanks.
always does great intros for everyone.
Yeah.
So good, so good.
Yeah, I kind of like, take a little bit about people's bios and I mix it in, and it's cool because it's like, I don't know, it's bios are very just so one-dimensional. It's nice to like understand the type
Yeah.
of energy people are putting out on their social media and how they are in their community. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think too, like Laura, you are so good at intros that anytime that she introduces anyone just on the regular, she gives them like the biggest like introduction. This is Liz that does blah, blah, blah. I'm like, wow, this person knows me 100% now. It's
I
Yeah.
don't know.
it's
I feel,
good.
I feel like you caught the essence really well and just like spruced it up. I feel so good. It's a good morning.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh,
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much for chatting with us today. Yeah, we're going to be
yeah.
discussing some important topics since we're all in quarantine. Here in LA, we've been in quarantine for, it depends on who you ask, for about 3 to 5 weeks.
Hmm.
So, yeah, today we'll be talking about health and immunity and how you can boost your mental health by what you eat.
And where are you located? Where are you at?
I'm I'm in the Los Angeles area, more like about an hour inland
Okay, cool.
of that.
Okay, nice.
So for us, I would consider quarantine. I don't know why I remember like March 17th as a good date, but like whatever the week was after that. Because March
Mm,
17th, I had class and my
Hmm.
teachers were already talking about like, oh, we don't know if we're going to go online still, blah, blah, blah. But after those class sessions, I was like, okay, I'm just not going to talk to anybody or go anywhere. So
right.
I began around that time. And I think it was very close to when everyone else kind of started.
Yeah, that's why I feel like everyone's been in quarantine for 3 to 5 weeks. I think some people were
Yeah.
even started before that, but then most everyone is like that week was it.
Yeah.
So you're also still in school, or what are you pursuing?
So right now, a little background. I'm already a registered dietitian, so I've already taken a lot of the fundamental background like science classes. But my actual main goal before I decided to major in nutrition and become a dietitian was actually to become a surgeon, or not surgeon. Oh, so too intense, too intense. Just a physician, like a regular good old physician. I mean, who knows? Maybe I'd want to go into surgery, but it looks like a lot, so I'm just gonna set myself a little smaller goal. So I've always wanted to become a physician. Um, and then I like went through school. I knew I didn't want to major in like biology or chemistry because it just seemed kind of boring to me. And when I found out about a plant-based diet, actually, is when I wanted to major in nutrition because I was like, if I'm going to follow this thing and like really advocate it, because I really was in love with the idea, I wanted to make sure that I had all my bases covered and like most important to me. And I think one of the most legitimate reasons to eat more plant-based is through a nutrition like medical standpoint. So I want to learn more about that. And then I went through the schooling, the training. I didn't really plan on being a dietitian. Honestly, I almost didn't even sit for the test because I was like, I'm gonna waste time. I just need to go straight through. Like this wasn't even part of the goal. But something inside me told me that I would have really good experience and get to learn a little bit more about the field if I had done that more than I had done like trying to shadow a physician or like volunteer near them or anything. So right now I'm currently in the getting experience slash going back to school for those med school prerequisite stage. If that makes sense.
Got
Um,
it. Okay.
the classes I'm taking right now are organic chemistry and physics. And yes, you do have to take organic chemistry as like an introductory course, kind of like a base for becoming or like for getting your nutrition degree. But I only needed to take an introductory course, but for med school, I need to do like a whole year sequence. So
Okay.
I'm just,
How long has your
it's
whole
hard.
journey been?
So far, so I graduated undergrad in 2018. So right now
Okay,
I'm
so
like, I
okay, so
guess,
2 years ago now.
yeah,
Almost
so
2 years
that's
ago.
hard.
Okay,
And so
cool.
and so you've been working as a clinical dietitian since.
Yes. So I graduated and then I sat down for my board exam a couple months ago. And actually, the place that I work at was the place that I did my intern, my clinical like rotation at. So when I finished my rotation there for my internship, they were like, when you take your exam and you pass, let us know. We'd love to have you. So then
Nice.
I got that job right after, or like a couple months after I took the exam.
Amazing.
And I've been working there ever since. I didn't think that I would like clinical dietetics because I wanted to be more on the preventative side of things. Obviously, with like a plant-based diet, it's more preventative. And just like way post-therapeutic. I was never really interested in the like in the moment nutrition because I just had this idea that people are eating whatever and it's not helping their health. And those dietitians who are giving patients like in hospital chicken and steak just don't really know about health. But the more I got to learn about it, the more I realized that it really is, sometimes it's not exactly what you eat. Like coming from like a really extreme background for like the plant-based diet, because I started out like eating predominantly raw, doing the whole like 8 bananas
Mm.
thing, like the
Is that
whole
when your name
really
was
like raw.
is that when your name was Apples and Amanda?
Yeah, that's when I
Yeah.
started as Apples and Amandas, and I was like really into it, but I like it's just very dogmatic and like very extreme at that end. And it helped, like having that clinical experience helped me realize that there really are like caveats to every single situation, and it's not just a black and white thing. And sometimes if a patient really is dying and he needs iron and he needs protein and he needs food, but all he wants to eat is a steak, like he's not going to eat anything else, and he's not going to say okay to tube feeding, like I have to okay that. Like I have to understand people where they're coming from. And sometimes health is not food, but it is also like your mindset and your beliefs. And sometimes having like a little leeway or not following the rules so extremely is more healthy for people mentally in the long run. And that's something that I probably would not have understood or experienced had I not learned more about clinical. So right now I feel like I'm getting that kind of experience and that knowledge that I can use when in the future, if I see patients, like I know where they are, but I also know where they were before in the hospital. Because, I mean, people who work more preventative care or like, afterwards, they don't really see what's going on in the hospital. But I feel like right now I'm building those kind of like the empathy blocks. Like, oh, I know what
Yeah.
that was like. So I know how hard it probably will be right now for you to make these lifestyle changes, but
Yeah,
it's
that's
doable.
important. So
Yeah.
how many so you mainly treat patients like in hospitals, and do you do like freelance work too? Or
Yeah, I also do some freelance work. So in the hospital, just there, but then outside of it, I also have like a little freelancing on the side. Like I don't push too hard for it. It's just there because I know that some people have been following me for a very long time on my social medias and have asked me before, like if I do nutrition counseling, if I see anybody, they like my personality and feel like I could really help them. And I felt bad, but like to say no, but I just didn't feel like it would be right for me until I actually became a registered dietitian. Because
yeah,
honestly, like anybody can give nutrition advice, call themselves nutritionists. It's not
right.
regulated. It's not
Yeah.
regulated
Mm.
by a
I think
government body.
right, and I think with the whole trend now with like I don't know, I just feel like there's so many influencers that act like they're nutrition, like they're into they. I mean, you can be very educated like with nutrition, like through your own studies and through YouTube and with learning being self taught. But definitely there is a like I feel like there's more of a seriousness like what you have, like being actual clinical dietitian, you know?
Yeah, and I agree with you. Like I'm sure they're very educated, and I'd never discredit somebody if they say that they're a nutritionist because they could probably know way more than me about a subject, but it's just not like it's not regulated by any government, so they could be very smart, but they also could be saying like things that aren't very valid or things that have been like debunked a long time ago.
Right.
Right. Yeah, Amanda, so tell us about how you've been dealing with the quarantine. What have you been eating? How have you been focused on mindful eating?
So this quarantine has been also kind of ironic for me personally. Um, I wish I could say like, oh, I've been focused on eating healthier and I've been making sure I'm getting movement and blah blah blah. But really, like my focus this quarantine, it was a focus for me in general, but just because it's quarantine time, like I guess that's what's happening. But I actually am on a mission to gain weight. So this has been perfect for me to just like sit down and just eat
Nice.
a bunch of food. Obviously, I'm prioritizing fruits and vegetables every single meal. So it's pretty much business as usual, how I normally eat, mostly whole foods, plant-based diet, lots of fun stuff in between. But just eating more calorically dense foods and going through this time of trying to, because like I'm trying to rebalance out my hormones and having more body fat. As having more body fat is probably what I need right now. I've seen a couple professionals and like my doctor, they've all agreed. So I'm doing this thing. And it's just interesting to me now. I'm seeing like a lot of people still trying to hit those super hard home workouts or still trying to lose weight while on quarantine, not
Mhm.
really realizing that our bodies are already under so much subconscious stress that adding on that needed goal of working out just it taxes our subconscious, which then can tax our little organs in our brain, which can then lead to like malfunctioning hormones or just constant stress, tense muscles. And
Mm.
I really just think that this is a good time for not just because I'm doing this right, but for most everybody to just rest and relax. And like this isn't going to be forever, so why try to grind super hard through it? I mean,
Yeah. Abnormally grind.
yeah,
Yeah.
normally
What would you
abnormally grind for sure.
what would you say would be a healthy way of incorporating workouts into it? Is it just how you feel, like if you really want to do it, or just not holding yourself to this regimen of having to work out every single day? Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
So
still work out and still be active, but just don't hold yourself to this unrealistic standard of having to do it every day for 2 hours or something like that.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And people really don't realize how active they actually are, even when they're at home. Like, I'm sure if you've been at home for long enough, you're not gonna want to just sit down on the couch all day. Like,
Yeah.
usually it takes a while, like different times for different people, obviously. But after a couple days, you're gonna get up and be like, yo, I gotta clean, I gotta do
Yeah.
laundry, I have to wash the dishes, I have to walk my dog. People
Yeah.
are still really active. And what I'm noticing, especially since what I'm noticing, especially now, since I'm like a coach for veganfitness.com, which is like an 8-week challenge, is that people, when they put in their information, a lot of them have started putting in sedentary for like their exercise, like what their kind of activity is, so that we can calculate kind of their macros and whatever for their goal. But they put down sedentary just because it's quarantine time. And I've had to actually bump up the calories on some people because some women are small, but if they say they're sedentary, then the calories are just going to start really low. And I'm like, you're not sedentary because they're
Right.
already also following a workout regimen. And by by working out, I would say like at least 20 to 30 minutes a day, like you're already considered more active
Right.
than
Okay.
Just
sedentary.
20 or 30 minutes. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
If
yeah,
it's
I think that I understand what you mean. Like for me, I've just been kind of listening to my body, and kind
Yeah,
of trying
exactly.
to balance like, you know, I mean, I don't know what date it is, but I have a little calendar on my refrigerator. So I've just been writing of like, okay, 30 minutes to work out, and then like, I write down what I eat. So I mean, even if I do make a chocolate cake or something, or a gluten-free vegan cake, which I made today, like I only had a small slice, and my boyfriend ate the rest. But we also had a bunch of vegetables in during lunch too. So, I'm trying to balance and just not try to put so much pressure on my diet. Because I know how much we already put so much pressure on ourselves as women in general, like gaining weight,
Yeah.
losing. gaining weight, like, oh my gosh, like, oh, I'm so lazy today. Like, we're just so hard on ourselves in general. So just trying to ease up on the judgment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially during this time.
absolutely.
So what type of foods do you recommend we should be eating during this time of quarantine? You said fruits and vegetables, but do you have
Yeah.
any particular, I don't know, recipes or just real things that you're like, we should really be focusing on eating these?
Oh, I think it's important for people to prioritize their digestion, especially because immunity really starts with digestion. I mean, immunity can start with anything, sleep, lifestyle habits, your mindset, blah, blah, blah. But like digestion is super, super key. And people would normally think like, oh, eat super, super high fiber foods, a lot of roughage, blah, blah, blah. But I think it's important to have a good balance of both really fibrous, like chewy foods and softer, easily digested food. So, for example, like right now, my boyfriend and I are in a super huge khichdi kick. So, khichdi is this Indian dish. It's like a super simple rice and lentil dish. Like, that's literally like the two main ingredients other than spices. But the point of it is, well, we really love it because it tastes really good. But the point of that is because it's very easy to digest and it also has a lot of nourishing elements to it, like the lentils or mung beans. So, like, we use mung beans, but people also use lentils. Any type of legume really has a really good amount of not only protein, carbs, a little bit, like a very minuscule amount of fat, but a lot of different micronutrients. If they're soaked and sprouted, it makes those micronutrients more available to us. Micronutrients such as like iron, magnesium, folate. See what else?
How
Things
do
like
you
phosphate.
do you also cook? So if you sprout beans, do you also cook them or do you just eat them sprouted like that?
It depends. So if you like soak them and like let them sprout for one day, it probably isn't sprouted all the way through. So I would just cook it. But after sprouting for like 2 or 3 days, especially lentils, they're good to go just plain. I mean, it's kind of like the bean sprouts that we eat at Vietnamese restaurants.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, cool. Yeah, I
Yeah,
love beans. It's actually like a
yeah,
Filipino dish. Like I remember my mom back then she would just make like this mung beans and like pork and stuff, but now I just do the
Oh
mung beans
yeah.
and just saute them with like onions and garlic and yeah, so nice.
So
yeah,
tasty.
Yeah.
Kids,
yeah.
and do you have to buy specific beans for sprouting? You can't just sprout any beans, right?
I'm pretty sure you can sprout any beans, but I just have not had good luck with sprouting things like chickpeas or black beans or anything like
Mm.
that. So I'm just like, I'm gonna stick to the easy ones. This
Yeah.
girl does not have a green thumb.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, having like that kitchery is it's just easily digested by the body. So we're able to take in those nutrients and assimilate it without really irritating our digestive tract too much. Although it's really good to have a lot of fibrous foods because it's good to engage the digestive tract so that it can function better and grab those extra vitamins, minerals, macronutrients that we need.
That's
But at the same,
awesome.
so I mean, that in terms of like fiber, like types of textures of foods, but in general, I would prioritize and I do prioritize eating fruits and vegetables at every meal. Like I do eat like carbs, starches, rice, bread, nut butters, nuts and seeds. I do eat like tofu and whatever, but like they already happen automatically on your plate. What most people don't think about first is fruits and vegetables. But I found that like when I think about fruits and vegetables first, I can like be rest assured that it's there and I always know that I'm going to have some kind of starch and some kind of protein source on my plate. So
Mhm.
that I don't have to worry about. So I just encourage people to think of it in that way. Like everything's going to be there anyway, so don't think that I'm trying to say cut things out, but it's just like we need to include more fresh vitamins and minerals because that's the best way for our body to recognize those vitamins.
For sure.
Okay. So how about like, and how do you know that you are making the right like digestive choices like for your gut? Because I have inflammation because I have psoriasis and I've always had digestive problems and stuff like that. It's like, I mean, even just going like to the bathroom, like number two, like is it like if you go like twice or once a day, like you're doing great with your digestion? Like, is there a way to like track your success? You
I
know?
would So if somebody really wants like a pen and paper type method, then it would be like measure how much you are or how often you are going to use the restroom. Also measure, how much you see, like actually turn around and see if like is it formed, is it soft?
Okay.
Actually see like can you see particles of your food or anything like that? Like just be
Okay.
really in tune with your body.
Got it.
It could be TMI, but at the same time, like that's your body. Like that's just what comes out of it. So in my
Yeah.
opinion, maybe it's also because I just eat plants where I'm like, I'm not disgusted at all. I'm like, oh, that's just like plants in another form with some random enzymes.
Yeah.
um,
So
Okay.
what does healthy poop look like? What
it
you know?
looks so if you look up like
Wait, there's all
uh,
these myths too about like if
I
it's
know.
floating, if it's sinking, like oh my god. I don't you tell us.
so okay, yeah, if it's floating, that usually means that the food that was contained in that poop was probably a little higher in fat, or fruit. But it's weird because sometimes if it's like really filled with fruit, it'll just like fall down all the way to the bottom, like be super dense.
Oh.
So I wouldn't really pay too much attention to that detail unless your poop is always floating and it never sinks down under the water. That could be problematic because that could entail that you might have like a fat absorption. What's it called? Like a problem with absorbing fat in your gut, so your gut's
Gotcha.
just like processing it all the way through. But it should look formed, soft, but not falling apart in the water. But also, if it looks like that once in a while, it is also okay. Like we eat different foods every day. It's
Right.
normal.
Yeah.
Okay. So
All right.
formed. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Now we know about what our poo should look like.
Yeah, there's some charts on the internet, but I don't know if it's all the same kind of scale, but the number I know in my head is like a 3 to 4. So if you look up just like poop hardness scale.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look that up for sure. So, Linda, tell us what you tell your clients maybe who struggle with body image and things like that. What do you recommend that they eat? What type of meal plans do you put them on?
So these clients are actually the hardest to work with. Not because of them, but mostly because like try to I need to make sure that the way that I'm approaching it sounds doable on their end and is also sounding like pretty sympathetic, but also encourages the idea that like what our bodies look like at this moment don't necessarily it matters, but not as much as what you would think if you were scrolling through Instagram on the regular, you know?
Mm.
Right.
Um, so the kind of way that I tell them to eat is just like try to listen to your body, like eat intuitively. Actually, one of my goals is to become an actual intuitive eating certified counselor.
Wow.
So there's this like whole philosophy of eating called intuitive eating, which is something that most people, if they've been in this field for a long enough time, have experience with or like know about. But it's basically just tuning into your body. It's like eating how a kid eats, like
Got it.
eat when I'm hungry, stop when I'm full, eat when I'm hungry, eat whatever I want because even if it's a treat 5 straight days in a row, I know that my body will regulate itself and it's like trusting more so your body and following the lead rather than trying to control it, hold it by the ropes with meal plans, which I know sounds pretty ironic because I do also prescribe custom meal plans, but with the people who are having problems with like, you know, borderline disordered eating or even disordered eating patterns or people who are having image issues, I like to emphasize the meal plan not as something that's like hard and fast or like black and white, but something that's just like here are meals that you can have ahead of time. So when you feel hungry, you don't have the excuse or that obstacle of like, I don't know what to eat or, I don't have anything to eat. But I also encourage them, like, if there's something else that you want to eat, you should eat that. But if you are excited to eat this meal that's already on your meal plan set for the day, then eat it. But it's nice to have something there for structure just in case people don't really have that breakfast, lunch, dinner idea or breakfast, lunch, dinner planned out, and that's maybe mainly their issue, which it really is for most people. They're like, I just don't know what to eat. I just like don't eat breakfast because I don't know where to eat. And
Right.
then that just not eating breakfast for a lot of people starts to cascade into this like, and then I start binging at night, and I'm like, because you
Right.
got to eat evenly throughout the day. So
Yeah.
by helping people who have disordered eating or body issues, they're able to really feel like they're taking care of themselves from the beginning of the day and throughout the day, just with
Do you,
that.
for
Got
sure.
it.
Do you have tips on
Interesting.
how to connect with yourself intuitively in that sense for food?
Because as a
Yes.
kid, there's a huge gut from gut to mind connection, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, the first thing is to listen to when your body is hungry and give it some food and be okay with the fact that it's 3 in the morning right now, but my body, like my stomach's telling me I'm hungry, because we have a lot of scientific evidence too. That's kind of it, that's why this whole thing is really hard. That, oh, fasting for 12 hours straight is good for you. Like you should fast and blah blah blah, and like it actually shows to help with your hormones and like lengthen your lifespan and stuff like that. And while maybe those scientific um, people and scientific journal articles might hold some truth to them, might hold a lot of validity to them, every single person is different. And the fact of the matter is, eating at 3 in the morning, like a small snack when your stomach is telling you you're hungry and it actually wakes you up, like that's okay. You're not
Yeah.
gonna die.
Yeah.
Our bodies need a certain amount of calories throughout the day and throughout the night. And by putting yourself on this like clock or this pattern, it's kind of restricting you from listening to your hunger signals. So the first tip I would give people is just like really pay it, like without changing things too much, just pay attention to when you notice you're hungry and when you notice that you're full. So
Do you think we should have like pre-cut like snacks or meals, like vegetables or fruits like pre-cut, or at least you could just go in there and grab it instead of grabbing like the Oreos or something?
absolutely. Like I definitely am. I wish I could do that all the time, and I
Right.
don't. So sometimes I just eat carrots straight up. I'm like, I don't have time to cut this. I'm hungry. I'm just gonna like wash it and then just eat the straight, like the whole carrot.
Yeah, right.
But so I think it's important to have those as options, but to
Okay.
also have those Oreos there as an option, because when you cut that off, you're basically telling your body, like subconsciously, right? Like, I can't trust you with this, so we're just not even gonna have it in the house. And so
Right.
think of it as a child, like you tell a child, like, oh, I don't trust you with this toy, so we're just never ever gonna have it. So what are they
Hmm.
gonna do when they get their hands on that toy? They're
Eat
gonna
like
mess
50 of them.
they're gonna eat 50 of the Oreos. They're gonna like mess up that toy. They're gonna play with it like they've never played with it before, because they usually don't have that opportunity. But if
Yeah.
you give yourself the choice between Oreos and like vegetables, and not even give yourself like a I should eat this or I should eat that, just guide you like, how do we feel? I think I want to eat some Oreos. Sometimes I'll eat a bite of a cookie and I'm like, I really thought this was what I wanted, but I guess this isn't
Uh-huh.
what I wanted. But
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
by
I know what you mean.
following yeah, but by following more like intuitive eating patterns, I can like feel liberated to put the cookie down and eat something else, and vice versa. I'm craving something sweet. Oh, I'll just eat like a strawberry. So I eat a strawberry and I'm like, this really isn't what I wanted.
Yeah.
And by then I'm like, okay, I really did want the cookie. So like I'll go and eat the cookie, because what
Yeah.
happens is if we don't eat the cookie, we're gonna end up eating five later on.
Mm. Yeah,
You
so
know?
so as a dietitian then you're not just telling people what to eat, but you're teaching people how to listen to themselves and how to connect
Yeah.
with their body, with truly connect with their body.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
basically what it is. And it's so much more than I ever imagined it would be when I first started this. Because while it is about the food, it's way, 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 way more than the food.
Yeah. Yeah, so in a way you're kind of like a therapist.
Yeah, it is a
Yeah.
lot of like interviewing and trying to work my way around and like trying to help them see why people aren't like reaching their goals, but having to
Right.
make it, it's like a mild form of inception, but really it's just for the benefit of the client. So it's
Yeah.
it's fun. It's
How
interesting.
how long do you see like if someone did like hire a nutritionist, like how long is like usually the trajectory to like from growth, like from when they start with you and then like where they actually will see results, like months, years?
It really depends on the person.
Yeah.
So like everything they see in return or that they get in return is everything that they've put into it. All the struggles and like their hardships going through different processes and trying to reach different goals, like whatever they put in is what they like take out. I've seen people change over the course of a week, where like after a
Wow.
week of following a meal plan or after a week of following advice that I've given them, just some tweaks that I see could be fixed in their normal like day-to-day life, um, including food, but also including like, sleep and lifestyle and stress. So I've seen people change in the course of a week, but
Okay.
that doesn't really mean anything if I don't get to see them in a year or in a couple months after that, because I don't know what it's like. So it depends on the work you put in and also how much consistency you're also willing to put in.
Got it. I have a question really quick. How
Yeah.
important is chewing? Mindful chewing. Can you tell me about that?
It is very important. I think so. I think
No one
it's,
talks about this really.
I'm sorry.
No one talks about this. And I'm
Yeah,
always
because you
like
just,
kind of low key judging my boyfriend about his chewing situation because he doesn't chew. He eats everything so fast.
It's
I
I'm
like,
think
like,
it's just like a
wow.
boyfriend thing. It's just like you put it in your mouth and like they bite it once to make sure it's food and then swallow. I'm like, I cooked for an hour and you're just gonna finish that in 5 minutes? Come on, dude.
damn.
Yeah.
I have to eat my
So,
food fast now because if I don't eat my food fast, then Chris tries to eat my food. So I'm like, oh, I gotta eat it
wait,
fast.
are you
No, when
gonna
we
eat
go out to
that?
restaurants,
Yeah.
yeah, you're gonna eat that like all the time. So I think I like that too about boyfriends because I'm like, okay, I'm full. Do you want this? And they're like, yeah, just put it there. I'll eat it.
He's like, I'm not I'm not a human trash bin, all right? But yeah, he always eats my food too.
Like, I'm not. It's storage. So anyway, yeah, chewing is super, super important. I think no one talks about it because they just assume that if you say eat mindfully, then people are automatically chewing. But sometimes people don't know that like you need to chew mindfully in order to eat mindfully. I don't know what the number is. Is it 23, 24 times?
I don't
Oh, I don't know.
know. I don't know, but that's why I'm like, I've been trying, especially sometimes like when you have your meal in front of you, you're watching TV, and so you're kind of like already kind of zoned out, and so you kind of just eat fast. So I've been in between my meals, I've been really trying to just like eat, and then I'll take a whole mid break for a little bit just to digest a little bit, and then I'll start again. And I don't think that does anything, but I feel like it kind of just kind of gets my intestinal system and my whole digestive system a break in between like it from working so rigorously, you know?
Yeah, yeah. No, I
Yeah.
love that. I love that halfway break. And I actually tell my clients to do that as well. And I also do it as well. But the halfway break is really important to assess where you're at and to like give your permission to eat more if you want more or to stop eating if you feel like you're full. Um,
Yeah.
but if
And
you
so,
feel like you're full and like you still want to eat, like ask yourself why, but also give yourself permission to eat anyway.
exactly.
Right.
And then
So,
there's dessert.
yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Sometimes after I finish my dinner, I'm like, okay, hey buddy, do you want it? And I'm like already obviously so full, like my
So,
stomach's just like out, and I'm like, she wants dessert.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
You know,
chewing,
growing up I had a like a hippie aunt in Colombia that really influenced me, and she would always tell me, chew slow like a cow, chew slow like a cow. And so that has just always floated around in my head. I feel like, they eat so slow, so they're like, so I'm like, okay, I'll chew like slow like a cow. So I feel like maybe that's a good place to start.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
chewing. I mean, also it's hard for the people who have like 30-minute breaks to eat,
That's
Right.
true.
Yeah.
but chewing, the reason why I was like, I don't know what number it is, because there is a number that's floating around that people should be chewing per bite, like, oh, chew 24 times before you swallow. But um I just think that numbers and stuff like that is just like really not helpful to have in your mind because then it
For
kind of takes
sure.
away from the experience.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
chewing, if we think about chewing, is literally the first mechanism before the food gets broken down in our intestine. So I just think like if you want to give your intestines less work, you should probably chew a little bit more. Because if they
Right.
have more work and you already have like an irritable bowel or just like
Mhm.
really cognizant of your digestion issues, or if you feel like you have sensitive gut, then just chew more so you have to give them less work.
Got
If they
it.
Yeah.
if they work more, it's like they get stressed out, and then everyone just gets stressed out, and it's not a happy party.
I see.
Um,
Is there
it's
more
also
nutrients in the food too when you chew it down more? Does your body absorb more nutrients?
It depends on what the food is.
Okay.
Usually our stomach acid can break down what it needs, and the gut further breaks down the food along with different types of digestive acids. But sometimes there's just like a big amount of fiber that encloses, say, corn, for example. If you don't chew it properly or all the way, then you'll see bits of corn in your poop. But if you're chewing the corn all the way, then it'll get processed a little bit more.
Mm,
Um, and I guess people would think like, oh, that's great because we don't get the carbs from the corn, but it's like corn also has nutrients and vitamins and
right.
water in there that we need, so it's important to do that. Um,
Interesting.
and yeah, as you chew more, again, like you're basically giving your gut less work because you're already starting to break down the food. And that already means that it's easier to absorb more nutrients before it gets pushed out through our butt.
I
Okay.
got it.
Yeah.
So, Amanda, I have one other big question to ask you quickly. Um,
Yeah.
nutritional labels and like reading when you're grocery shopping and stuff. Like, what do you look like when you're reading nutritional labels these days, or do you avoid anything like specific? Also, what's up with these large words too and behind nutritional labels? It's hard for us to understand, even if it's like an organic product. You know?
Yeah. So nutritional labels, um, you got to get food with nutritional labels on them. We're not in this perfect world where we can just get produce and like, get, I mean, I guess we are. People are liberated to do that, but at the same time, it's like, I kind of want to get pasta and I want to get like pasta sauce and I want to get vegan cheese. So I definitely still get things with labels on them. So that's the first and foremost because people think like, oh, you're vegan and you're in dietetics. Probably super hippie, like organic, but um, so it's okay to eat things with labels on them. The first thing I look at is the cholesterol because if something has
Okay.
cholesterol in it, then most likely has an animal product as well. So
Wow. I never
I
looked at
just
that.
don't. Yeah, it's like when I teach people who want to eat more plant-based about labels, that's the first thing I tell them about, just because it can be hard sometimes to like look through the ingredients for random names.
Hmm.
But then also they have to look at the allergens and see if it contains anything like milk, eggs. I think that's it. Milk, eggs, just depending on, what you're allergic to. And
Hmm.
then I then go through the ingredients list a little bit more just to make sure there's no random fish sauce because sometimes they don't put that in as an allergen for some reason.
Mm, got it.
So yeah, then I look at that. And then I look at the ingredients and I'm like, okay, what is this made out of? Like, am I comfortable with these things in my body? What is the
Right.
purpose? Blah, blah, blah. So some things are obviously going to be higher in oil. Some things are going to be higher in things like wheat. Some things are going to be higher in things like, I don't know, peas, chickpeas. Um, sorry, what was the question about nutritional labels? Like, how do I,
Or is there any like specific like things that you avoid?
oh yeah, yeah, just those things. And then if something has a bunch of random ingredients in there, such as like if there's numbers in it,
Yeah.
if there's numbers in it, I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna do this right now.
Yeah.
But there are some fun foods that do have numbers and like food colorings and some additives in there that I will actually get because I think it's important to have that mental balance of I eat healthy and there are also some foods that have no nutritional value to me, but I'm going to eat them because they taste good and my brain is saying, please, can I just have some play food? You know?
Okay.
Right.
Got it. Play food. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, what about GMO, like GMO stuff? What's your thoughts and opinions on that?
I'd say avoid as much as possible. Like if you could grab a non-GMO item, that would be the best. But there are some things that inevitably just have GMO corn, GMO wheat, GMO soy in them. Usually, GMO soy is used for raising cattle, and most of the soy products that we have and that we eat are made of non-GMO, or at
Right.
least non-GMO, and then hopefully organic for most of them. But like the tofu that
Right.
we eat in restaurants and whatnot, it's non-GMO soy.
Okay.
But
Can you tell us, do you know any about the science of GMO stuff? Do you have any insight into that?
yeah. So, okay. Yes, but also no, because it's just like a really strong theory of mine. But every time I've presented it to somebody who's more into that field, they're like, oh, yeah, you know what? That actually makes a lot of sense. So, I think that our bodies naturally should not have a problem with things like corn or soy or wheat. But our DNA has been evolving for millions of years, whereas the DNA of GMO soy, corn, wheat have not evolved, but it's just been recreated in the past, what, couple decades? So our gut bacteria, which is like made of this ancient wise DNA, probably has no idea what to do with this DNA once it's been broken down in our gut. For some people, their gut bacteria is like, oh, okay, yeah, we could do this. But some other people's gut bacteria just cannot. And I don't blame them because we are human beings trying to put something made by machines in our body. So I like my theory is just that, maybe 100 years ago, all of us would have been really, really like all of us would have been fine. Like this whole gluten-free thing probably would not exist because of the way that we made food back then. But now it's just been like monocropped and a lot of GMO stuff, and
Right.
we don't even know anything about like the soil that our food's being grown in as well most of the time. And soil is where plants get their food from. So that's also a huge thing. And that's probably why there's more intolerances now. I mean, if we think about it, like gluten free and like gluten intolerant and all that only started coming up within the past couple decades.
Right. I mean,
So,
even when you think about peanuts, even when you think about peanut allergies, a lot of peanuts are GMO. So are those two tied together? I mean, they very much could be because there's
they
so many,
could be.
yeah, there's so many kids, especially kids now, like the new generation of kids that are exposed to a lot of GMO peanuts, and they're the ones that have the allergies to it. So I wonder.
Yeah, yeah. It's quite notable actually that a lot of the younger generation people have, I would say, like lower immune systems now in terms of like food allergies and sensitivities.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Amanda, for all the amazing information.
Yeah.
Welcome. I hope it was
Thank you
Yeah.
interesting.
so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Wait, so
interesting.
would you mind telling us about your YouTube channel? Because I love how you kind of just like, all right, this is all the random stuff I ate today. Like, how do you, and your views are actually pretty great. So how was that journey?
I actually started my YouTube channel a little bit after my Instagram, and both of them were so I could build some sort of community because where I started my veganism, nobody around me was vegan. Like they just thought my roommates thought I was so weird. They're like, okay, whatever, we're gonna go eat meat now. Like you really don't eat any meat. And I'm like, well, yeah, I just don't. And
Yeah.
there was not really like, I just wanted some kind of, I wanted to create more of a community that I felt ushered into when I first found out about veganism. And yeah, when I first started learning more about veganism through social media, I was like, well, I want to like continue that. And then I saw people who were on YouTube and just like, just normal people making videos. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
sorry, should I wait?
I can. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
hear
wait.
Wait, okay,
it.
okay, cool, cool. Hmm.
Drinking my tea over here too.
I know,
Because
me too.
I just started a YouTube channel. I'm like, all right, 43 views, let's go.
Yeah, 43 views, girl, get it.
Girl,
It's
I'm like,
hard, huh? It's like it's hard to
oh,
be seen on there.
dude,
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
struggling.
Where did I?
You need to help drop a little tips on the secret sauce to growing your YouTube channel.
Oh my gosh, I could not give any tips about growing social media, to be honest with you. Like,
Because yours was so you've been on Instagram for, I mean, on Instagram and on YouTube for what, probably 10 years, right?
5
Was it
years.
5 years? Okay.
Yeah, yesterday I just looked at like my About Me section on my YouTube page and it said like started April 2015. I was like, oh my
Wow.
gosh, it's been
Oh,
five
yeah. Oh
years.
shit, literally 5 years.
I
That's so
know. So
awesome.
yeah, I started both and with no expectations, right? I was like, oh, this just looks fun. Like, I think I want to do this.
Yeah.
And I started it and I told people from my Instagram to go to my YouTube page. I just started making more videos about literally just, it was the kind of videos that I would watch on YouTube. And I was like, I just want to do it too. I want to play also. So, it was mostly, yeah, like what I eat in a day videos. And it was, I don't know. I don't know how more and more people started to come onto my channel and followed, but I got more comfortable with myself, I think, as I started putting myself more out on the internet. And like
Yeah.
when I first started out, I hated listening to myself talking. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even look. Like, how am I supposed to edit this? Like, I hated looking
Yeah.
at my face and I hated like listening to my voice. I'm like, this is all so weird. But after a while, I started to just get used to it. And I think that really boosted up my confidence
Yes.
as well.
Tip
Just like,
tip number one. Tip I feel like that's such a good tip right there because if you're super judgmental on anything that you create, you're just not never gonna put anything out there. And you're gonna waste so much time reshooting and re-editing and reshooting. And it's like, dude, just put it out there. Really.
yeah, you
Yeah,
I
true.
had to do that too. I'm like,
Someone on the hemisphere is gonna connect with it from Canada or Nebraska or someone all over around the world. They're gonna relate.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And like, what's really cool about the internet is you never, never know. Even if you think like you're the only person, like I've posted a couple, I can't say specifically, but I've like mentioned some things that I do in my life that I'm like, I don't think anybody else does this, but I'd always get at least one or two comments where it's like, oh my gosh, girl, me too. Like I do that too.
Yeah,
So
that's super cool.
it helps like establish this community. And what I feel like I've grown is not so much a following, but more so like just this little community, you
And
I
that's
know?
think too,
important.
you've evolved a lot, and your followers, your friends, your community have followed you because from 5 years ago, you're posting such different things than you post now.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And it's been really interesting coming to terms with the fact that I'm not gonna coming to the terms with the fact that I'm probably not gonna have like the same kind of content, the same kind of static page that I see a lot of people have where it's like, oh, they're just fitness focused or they're, just mom life focused or food focused, like recipes and whatnot. Because my
Hmm.
interests are always changing. And when I started my YouTube channel, it was never a specific thing. So I've kind of given myself that freedom and that space to evolve because I was like super into food and veganism, and then I got more into like lifting, and then I went to yoga school in India, and I like love talking about that. And
Yeah.
now
That's
I'm like
awesome.
doing today actually I'm kicking off my study with me session, so it's going to be more like study student tip focused. And there was like this phase in my YouTube life when I was posting a lot of videos on dietetics because people kept asking me questions about this area in my life at the moment. So it's more like an expansion of myself more so than a single resource for a single topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool.
And I think that's important and also allowing yourself to be curious, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Is there anything else you want to talk about or just give some quick tips for people that are trying to get into this field or anything that, you want to drop like little thoughtful gems?
Huh. I think I would just like for people to remember that, to be kind to yourself because the kind of kindness and loving, gentle care that you give to yourself is the same that you would more uh, when you do that, when you give yourself that kind of energy and that care, that love, not just through, your thoughts and your words, but also what you eat, eating foods that are going to be good for your soul. So junk food if you want it, but also foods that are going to be good for your body, fruits and vegetables, a hearty soup when you need it. Just taking care of yourself in those small ways make you more susceptible to saying yes to those times that you have an option to either be kind to someone else or not at all, you
Got it.
know? And
Yes.
it So I just think that's important. So with that comes eat healthy, because we are in this time where your immunity probably will mean a lot to you. Keep your mind healthy by having hobbies, by doing things that you really love enjoying, talking to people, socializing via social media, but also
tuning in for one of your yoga classes.
tuning in, doing yoga, exercise because you want to, and not being not be so strict on yourself. Like, that's being kind to yourself, and at the end of the day it helps you be kind to other people, because you have then been able to practice what it's like to not exercise and then go hang out with somebody who probably needed your time, right? So like, everything you do for yourself is kind of like an extension for someone else later on in the future, if that makes sense.
Yes, love that. Dope.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Amanda. And they can
Thank
find
you
your
so
YouTube
much.
page at what's your YouTube channel?
So my YouTube channel, as well as my Instagram and Twitter, are all at Amanda V Sevilla. I'm sure it will be in the show notes.
Yes, it will.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you had a wonderful listen and get some nourishment from today's discussion.
Yes.
And
Thank you
Amanda, we'll see you soon.
Yes.
Thank you guys. Thank
Yeah,
you,
thank
everyone,
you
for
so
listening.
much. Yeah,
Stay
thank you for tuning in
safe.
to the Conscious Kitchen. Be safe out there during this quarantine, y'all.
Bye.